Imagine that. Hello, Commissioner Burpo.
I showed up.
I took him out.
We knew you would. We didn't, yeah.
Most of the time, like,
There's just a blank
Don't
chair.
bring me a little heater to put under the desk next time. I'm chilly. Bring me a little
Have to do a budget amendment for that.
okay.
No,
That's just, we don't,
we just posted,
okay.
Can't
We
we
ready?
sit down early a bit when we get all quiet? Think we're
Okay,
doing
we'll
something.
call this meeting to order, the City of Kingfisher City Commission. If you would, stand and salute the flag with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would join David Gadbury, the pastor, new pastor at Lifeway Church, if you would lead us in our prayer tonight.
Thank you. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together. We thank you for the city council. We are grateful, God, that you give us insight and wisdom. We know that your word says in James chapter 1 that if we lack wisdom, we can ask you and you give us generously. And we receive that today. And I just pray that every decision made, every conversation, every discussion will be graced with your wisdom. And we thank you for the opportunity to serve, and we thank you for these men and women who do so. We pray your blessings and your favor upon this community, and we pray for the prosperity of Kingfisher. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
They never want to stay. We should offer them cookies or something.
Roll call, Brittany.
Jeff Whitrock.
Here.
Jeff Cobalt.
Here.
Don Taylor.
Here.
Kyle Mecklenburg. Debbie Burpo.
here.
We have a quorum.
Yep.
First item on the agenda is item 2, the consent docket with the minutes, claims. Any budget amendments in there? Any questions or comments regarding any of those? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll move a motion that we accept the consent docket as posted.
I second that.
Did you second?
Yeah, I second that.
Thank you, ma'am. That motion carries. Next item under scheduled business, item 3, Part A is a discussion possible action with respect to a resolution number 2025-002. City Commissioners of the City of Kingfisher, Oklahoma, approving action taken by the City Kingfisher Public Works Authority, authorizing issuance, sale, and delivery of its clean water SRF promissory note to the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, ratifying and confirming lease or leases pertaining to the leasing of the utility systems of the city to the authority, and or authorizing the execution of an amended lease between the city and the authority pertaining to said utility systems and containing other provisions related thereto. You have comments in regard to that?
I do, Mayor, and John Wolf is here. He's representing municipal finance, and this is just a requirement that Alan Brooks put together that allows them to represent us in trying to get some grants. I came from a city managers conference 3 weeks ago and reached out to SRB and John and said, hey, if there's some free money available, I want to get part of that. Now the dilemma we've got, and I'll let John go into this in a little more detail, is that the free money basically goes to communities that are struggling financially and economically. We are categorized as a tier 4 city, which is the highest you can be. But in talking with John and SRB, there may be some areas of our community that we're going to be able to get some money for lead lines or AMI or stormwater. So John, I teed that up. I don't know if I missed anything. I know Alan Brooks, my gosh, that's a lot of words to say what I said.
Good evening. I'm going to pass out, you may have already had this provided, but I'll get it quick if I get this way.
And if you recall, John helped us out when we looked at our water and sewer rates and electric rates. He did that work pro bono. He recognized that we're a not-for-profit community. And he assisted us with that, navigating that. And so hopefully he's going to help us to navigate this with that same spirit of pro bono.
He's not coming.
I may disappoint Jim tonight, but
No,
I
no,
don't
John.
know. What I've passed out is each year over the last multiple years, the state of Oklahoma receives funding from EPA for both water and wastewater type projects through the drinking water and clean water programs. And on those appropriations that they receive, there's what I call icing on the cake. They have so much money that they allocate under the capitalization grants, which is basically principal forgiveness for those communities that in any other situation may have problem funding projects or engineering or planning and design for projects. And so over the last multiple years, the state has received $10 to $11 million a year. And so about this time every year, Oklahoma Water Resources Board puts out an email to its communities, tries to educate, and gives a period of time. And they've actually tweaked the process over the last couple of years to where they're trying to make this as painless as possible, but also try to reach those that actually do need the funds. And so as Jim was addressing, that there's affordability criteria that was put together by ODEQ and by OWRB years back that looked at per capita income of the communities as a whole. Well, the problem with that is not every community as a whole represents the true areas of your community. So you often have situations where you may have a section of your community that would be in a lot smaller per capita income, and so they do allow for those communities that are tier 4, which are the higher income communities overall for the total corporate boundaries, to still be eligible for this funding, but they have to provide a specific area and provide the data set showing that the per capita income, so forth, for that part of the community is eligible. Now, like I said, there's only about 11 million approximately to work with. We try to help all our communities. Typically, in the information that was passed out, this is provided by Oklahoma Water Resources Board. You can get up to $1.5 million. They'd like to see the dollars get distributed to as many entities as possible. So not everyone's going to apply for $1.5 million. But what you see on basically both pages is how you're scored. One is how to apply. What we're involved as financial advisor for the city is we prepare the application, we answer any questions that the water board has, and our fee, along with bond counsel's fee, Alan Brooks is bond attorney. They're required to have a bond attorney on this loan application. Is that the good thing with this program is that particular grant or the principal forgiveness pays our fees. So if you don't get this, we can't. You don't score high enough. There'll probably be 40 entities that apply for this. There will probably only be 15 that get any funding. So there's more that will get than those that will not. You don't owe us anything at all. what are your chances of getting the funding? I could say it's not as good as those that have a tier 1, but then again, whatever you can have put together by your engineer to address those areas, to look at planning and design for any types of projects, you have a chance to get those costs paid for by the federal government, and it does not come out of your coffers here. So we at least wanted to present you the chance. Don't really know where you'll fall, but we had 24 of these that we're working on for everyone from tier 1 to tier 4. And so we'll put that same effort out for everyone, but there's only so much time. They let you know about, it's around my birthday every year in January, and they give you 2 months to get everything in, to get out, have these meetings, get hired, do all of this. So it's a rush, but we'd hate for you not to be able to have a chance to get the funding. And like I said, our job is to prepare everything as far as the application, answering questions during the process. We work on your end, and then bond counsel is required to provide all the legal documents. March 14th is the deadline. There's a calendar here, I believe, that addresses over here with the bullets on the key dates. On the one side, it'll kind of give you an idea. You don't actually receive the funding until you get into the new fiscal year, because this is out of the federal fiscal year 26. So whatever you do, you apply for it. If you're awarded it, say May, you're one of those entities. The earliest you can close is after the first water board, third Tuesday in July, that they'll consider the first loan for approval, and then you can get funded and address within that time frame. I didn't pause there. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Did you tell them your fee is fixed, it's flat?
Right, our fee is $35,000. Bond counsel's fee is $35,000. And we, like I said, if you don't get, we can get all the way to the finish line and you don't get it, but that's like everything else that we do. We don't get paid unless you close the transaction. So.
And you were telling me, that was it SRB that has a specialty person that works on these kinds of projects?
Well, there's a gentleman here with SRB, but they have an employee that when I first told Jim and I told the engineer that you're a tier 4, it's like, but if you can determine that there are segments of the community, and according to SRB, Mark along with SRB, he had addressed that they have a person that will be starting to look at this tomorrow, and hopefully in a couple of days they can determine where you're at. But we wanted to get before you as soon as possible, because March 14th is the deadline to have the app in and all the questions answered. And there's a lot of things that they ask. You already have an existing loan with OWRB, but you have to make sure you're up to date on everything that's required on that loan. So there's a lot of checking of the boxes, and so this just gets things started.
I have a question. So you were saying that like the cap of what people can ask for is like 1.5 million or something like that. Did you say that?
Right, the cap is 1.5.
So, okay, let me finish real quick.
No.
So is that one of those things, and this might be what you were about to do, and answer me, but is like you ask for that amount and you either are approved or disapproved for that amount, or do they give you a percentage of whatever?
For that amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I had a couple, just out of curiosity, and the time frame's tight. But part of the project criteria or ranking criteria is readiness to proceed. So one of the questions in regards to that, is that like plans on the shelf?
No, the fortunate thing and what we've learned over the years is engineering type of planning, design, so forth, any type of sanitary evaluation studies, putting together engineering, that you just have to, on the engineering side, you do not, you just have to have an engineer retained and with a contract, and you've met that criteria. We learned our lesson that construction projects, which we applied for the first year, you had to be the first to have bids in hand, and that was a battle. And then we learned other cities did engineering and design, and there was completely different criteria for them. So yeah, once you retain the engineer, you're ready to go.
So my next question is the programmatic priority factor. And we're in the process, John, of hiring some engineers to put together a CIP ultimately for us in a number of areas. But
Right.
would that be part of the programmatic priority factor, or what does that mean? What does a programmatic priority factor mean?
I want to make sure I address this specific one. Are you talking about in the ranking or?
In the ranking?
Right, okay. I'll make sure, because it addresses it here a little bit further. When I address, I don't want to.
And maybe that's for another discussion. I don't know. Obviously, the readiness to proceed's 400 points, and that's a lot more weighted than the others. But I was just curious, some of the things that we're beginning now will help us, I think, with some of this.
Well, and to be honest with you, I read this somewhere, looking here real quick, I read this the other day, that, oh no, okay, so. Okay, the 100 points falls down to the tier eligibility right below that. If you read the sentence, eligibility for the Clean Water SRF loan forgiveness is partially based on the affordability criteria tier rankings, which yield the following based on the tier for points in the programmatic priority factor. And so I will tell you, last year, if you look at the intended use plan and those that actually receive funds, we're over like 530 points. You can see as you start to add points, if you're ready to go, you get 400 automatically. Then you go through each one of these actual ranking systems. If you are, once you determine, if you look at a particular part of the community that meets, that falls within the CPI that gives you a lower a better tier ranking, then you can get up to 100 depending on that particular area that you address. Everyone, bear with me. This is a lot. It's happening fast. How much can be done, how you can assess, come back with what's the most helpful for the community. That all has to happen in a short period of time. And so I'd really defer to how quick the city's retained engineer can come back and determine what falls in the priority ranking. Our intent would be, in a perfect world, we identify low enough per capita income that gets you to the actual tier 1 that gets you 100 points. And so, because that would give you readiness to proceed, 400 points, 400. 100 out of that, you have 500. Then how you fall within the other areas as far as project type factor, that's a key area. So if we get you to at least 500 points, then you're typically in the top tier of those applicants. Unfortunately, we don't know. I mean, we spent the last 5 days doing what we're doing tonight with other communities. And so we're so early on, we don't really know where you're going to be. But it's our job. This is a program that was out there. It was communicated to the cities. It was upon us, our job, to get out here and say, hey, if you want to do this, great. If not, but here's everything that needs to happen. So, but the main thing is to educate Jim as we find out, to pass on to you where we're at and how you're being scored. I think you'd want to know on a weekly basis what's going on, at least. So, well, certainly that's part of our job, is to kind of let you know where everything is. Bear with me, there are probably 40 to 50 applications going to the board's analysts. They have 4 analysts that are going to look at these. They have an environmental person, they have an engineer. So that's why it takes all the way to mid-May, basically, before they can go through everything that's submitted by March 14th. So, but we will keep you up to date if you decide to proceed. So.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion? What's that? Yeah, for sure. Don't read it all.
Yeah.
Item 3A.
Yeah.
I make a motion we proceed with A. Is that how we can say it?
I have a second by Commissioner Whitrock.
Sometimes I look for the challenge, but no.
Well, there's no need to. That motion carries. Thank you, John, so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Next item is item B, discussion of possible action to approve Team Design PLLC engineering firm contract for scope of work related for pavement management.
Steve, you want to come up? This is one of the engineering firms we selected to help us with our pavement management. And they have put together a scope of work and a cost not to exceed to put that together. Fill in the blank, Steve.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Steve Manick with Team Design. I have Chris Russell with Team Design. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, and Mr. Manager for having us. So, we've met with Mr. Thomas. We've put together a scope to provide you kind of a capital improvement plan, an evaluation of all your streets. There are many different ways to do this, but we would do it basically with like a pavement condition index called PCI. Kind of gives you a number rating. Won't tell you what the numbers are until after we've looked at all of them, but 100 is good, 50 is bad. So what we want to do is look at every single one of your streets, put together a plan, Excel spreadsheets, all the information we have. As we look at the streets, it would be, is it concrete, is it asphalt? Again, Mr. Thomas has allowed us to have access to your GIS system, so which is going to be a huge help to help actually save a lot of time and effort. We'll have to modify some of it and try to provide it back to your firm that's doing that. It will help to where we can get into certain segments, we can look at it. If it's got alligator cracking, which that's where it's just all sorts of, the asphalt's just broke to heck and it's popping out, or it has transverse cracks or longitudinal cracks, rutting, shoving, you name it. And that, with what's going on those streets, that can tell you, can it be rehabbed cheaply, or does it need to be reconstructed? So the further down the point scale, that's when the street needs to be reconstructed. Now again, we would look to that because you need to have some common sense associated with it, that if it's a street that carries 2 cars a day, that one probably doesn't need to be reconstructed compared to one that maybe is near a school that carries 1,000 cars a day. So again, we put together kind of a matrix priority as to here's how these streets can be done, here's an approximate cost based on, I don't want to say generic numbers, but if it's an asphalt street, if it's 2 inches, 3 inches, here's kind of a cost opinion with it. If it's a concrete street, here's a cost opinion, and we could prioritize those. Moving forward, we need to go take cores before you get into final design to see actually what's down there. Again, part of it we'd look at as well as, are there any drainage structures? Because if a street's falling apart and it's got a lot of alligator cracking, that means that the surface has fallen apart based on the traffic loading. It's letting water down into the subgrade. The subgrade's falling apart. It all needs to be removed and replaced. Just putting a surface on top of that would be a big waste of money. So we need to make sure the streets drain as well. So there's some things we'd look at as well. But our not to exceed fee, I believe, is $16,000.
Right.
We would provide you all the data, all the information. We put in there a 10-year plan is what we would give you to identify streets. It would be based on the available funding. We would also be talking to your staff. Talk to your water department and say, hey, do you have any leaking water lines in this area that probably need to be fixed? You don't want to put a new street on top of a leaking water line. Same way with the sewer line. Talk to your street department as, where are you out the most right now fixing some things to hold this together? So again, working with the staff and priorities to come up with the best bang for the buck, so to speak, to give you a plan. Again, might say 10 years, but in 5 years it would need to be reevaluated because streets can fall apart one bad winter, one bad spring, so they can change relatively quickly. So it's not a catch-all, but it'd be a first start, and then it could be updated every so often.
Any questions for Mr. Manning?
Steve, in a roundabout way, what is it costing to do a mile of road?
Well, depends on if it's just a small mill and overlay or if it's a reconstruction. A mile of overlay, 4-lane street, 2 inches. Maybe you could take it down to 1.5 inches if you get a B on there with the 3/4 inch rock in it. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So again, we want to make sure that when we get the cracks filled, the base filled.
I guess the only reason why I asked you that is, when you and I took you for a drive
Yes.
around the community, just to get a flavor of the community. We've got some areas that are seriously in need of some attention. But we also drove through the parks.
Right.
And there's no water lines or sewer lines or anything there, and both of our major parks, need some attention. And so I hope you're gonna take a look at that as well.
They're on our list, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Again, they may take some different, there might be an alternate method, technique there that, in my past experience that we've used with some county crews not saying we'd use county crews here, but, bow magging something in and overlaying
Yeah.
on top of it. Again, as long as there's no big heavy trucks going across it, because you have a big sanitation truck or
Yeah.
things like that, it's just gonna rut it to heck right off the bat.
Well, the mayor and I, we did an extension on a project we had, and they came in and bow magged it, compacted it in, and then just put 3 inches on top of it. And it's not a major artillery road, and that's what I was looking at for both of our major
Yep.
parks, was something like that, just come in and bow mag it.
Yeah, definitely something to look at and look at. When we drove through there, again, some of those streets going through there look to be extra wide for one-way traffic, so there's not really a reason
Yeah.
to do an extra 8 feet on each side that's just
Yeah.
gonna have the grass grow in it to pop the asphalt out.
Yeah.
So maybe we just mill that off or grind it up and just repave the main lanes to get it looking good for your traffic to drive on.
This 16,000 is for this fiscal year. You guys have a date, projected time to complete this?
Yeah, I would hope to have that back to you within 2 months.
Okay.
Our goal is to consolidate with SRB.
Yeah.
They're putting together a capital improvement plan so that we might be able to at least start looking at it for fiscal year '26.
Okay.
So we wouldn't do any work until after July 1.
But I'm
Yeah, it's
making
a-
sure his work's gonna be done before that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we would like to get even quicker. I can't come up and look at the streets if it's got snow on them,
Absolutely.
but as long as the weather cooperates over the next few weeks, again, we've got to, we've already looked, again, your GIS system, we've already started looking on how to put that together to make it efficient and usable for the city for the long term. And so we know it's going to take me about a week or two of just my technician CAD time to get that worked on, then another week in the field with a couple of us, and then probably another week. So I'm giving myself 2 months, but I'd like to get it back to you within a month if possible. Just depends on the weather.
And I should tell you, Steve, you were the city engineer in Edmond.
Yes, sir. I was the city engineer for Edmond for 22 years
Yeah.
before I came to team.
So he understands local government and city operation.
And we had a pavement management system that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, but if you don't update it because they did crack sealing or pothole repair, it's something that goes by the wayside. So we'll make sure we keep this up to date with whatever streets are redone to make sure it's valuable for perpetuity.
One of the things I was gonna ask is probably for you, Jim, more than Steve, but, because we're not gonna buy a pavement management system for hundreds of thousands of
No,
dollars.
no.
But we're gonna incorporate that into our GIS, correct, as far as what team's doing?
Yes.
And so we will continue to load that information, whether it be water, streets, or whatever,
Yeah.
into our GIS system, correct?
Yeah. And then as things are improved, or, that'll be logged into the system as well, so that whoever follows in our footsteps will be able to say, oh, okay, they repaired that road in 2025 or 2026, or they repaired the water line, we know what's there. So, yeah, no, it's a good system.
Any other questions for Mr. Manick?
In the contract, it has like a number 5, it just talks about like you guys maintaining records for like 3 years after the final payment. Is that the final payment of the 5 to 10 years that we were talking about, or final payment when you're done with this little
The
bit?
final payment to us after we're done, but with the design, with the study to give you the plan. But again, we keep our records forever, so if in 5 years somebody needs to call and ask me something, long as they let me stay there that long, I'll be, Chris will still be there. We'll make sure we get to
Indentured
Hopefully those records, though, will be implemented into our
Right, right,
system.
yeah.
For sure.
I can kind of just real briefly, so for instance, your current GIS system was based off your 911 system,
Right.
which is great. But what that does is there's about 800 line segments on your streets right now. When you talk about the length of a street, we need to get it to logical termini. So for instance, I know there's a certain segment on Bowman between, I think it was 8th and 9th, there's a house that faces Bowman, so that's a different 911. Well, I'm not going to give you a line segment for a street rehab of 100 feet. I got to go the whole block. And that way, that should shrink some of the line segments down to where it's more manageable. And then the GIS system, you can click on that line segment, pull up the data, concrete, asphalt, concrete only by asphalt, things like that. And then the data off to the side as to what was rehabbed or what was planned. So, and we want to give you a good usable system.
Okay. My other question is, considering this is something y'all do a lot, when we find out like the condition of different streets and what points they're at and what they need done, do you guys have the knowledge to be able to help us find grants or things that would help us pay for whatever we might be doing? Just out of the knowledge you might already have?
So yeah,
Not anything extra you charge us for them?
No. I used to be a city engineer, so I'm used to sitting on that side of the table, and it's kind of hard to get into. Sorry about that. Sometimes, but yeah, we want to do what's best for the city. So if we can find whether it's if it could be a TAP grant through ODOT or some other grants out there, we want to help find money to do the projects. I'll be on your side, so I know the more projects you do, the citizens are happy and they want more done. So we want to help do that for you.
Okay. All right. Sounds great.
I will let you know, I mean, we did get a drilling fund grant, and that's what we did on Starlight and Will Rogers recently, and that, so we just had one of those. We do have a couple of TAP grants that are ongoing right now. At least one.
Yes.
Yeah, sidewalks, which is so.
Possibly industrial access fund, all sorts of things out there that we can look into and find out who controls those, because different agencies control those different ways, and help try and get those to you.
We'd like to be proactive in that, I think is what Don's point is, so thank you. All right, without any other questions, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I would just give you a heads up too, I second that motion. That if you get a shirt that tells people that you're here to fix their streets, you might get a lot of brownies, cookies, kisses and hugs, just saying.
Well, approve item.
Because they'll be
Motion to approve item
excited.
B. Very good.
That motion carries. The next item is item C, discussion and possible action to approve SRB engineering contract for the scope of work related to CIP and funding programs. Jim, do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, Ryan, you want to come up? Ryan Smith's going to be our point of contact for SRB to put together a capital improvement plan for the city as a whole, tying in what Team Design's going to do, but they're specifically going to look at our water and sewer plant. They've already been out. They've met Jeremiah a couple of times already.
They're more on the utilities though, the actual lines though, right?
Yes.
Not the water and wastewater treatment.
Right.
Right.
We were planning on looking at the entire water and wastewater system, but I know Park Hill is also maybe looking at wastewater treatment regulatory concerns.
Yeah.
So that would be outside of our scope.
But you're going to put all that information together.
Right, yeah. In addition to doing some of the assessments that we talked about, which we can't do any assessments on like the linear, like pipelines and things like that, but we were planning on doing some assessments of the wastewater treatment plant and the water treatment plant, understanding what equipment may need to be replaced and things like that. We'll take that information, we'll compile it with what Team's going to be providing and possibly Park Hill, and develop a comprehensive CIP where we can identify your highest priority items and kind of put a plan together based on your budgeting for accomplishing that over the next 2 years.
Any questions of Ryan? Okay. Do we have a motion? Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
I'll make a motion. We approve item C on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion on item C carries. Next item on the agenda is item D, which is the discussion and possible action to set a date for the annual planning retreat and budget. Do you have some ideas as far as dates?
Yeah, as you recall, last year, it was an all-day session, and we met at the bank down here.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. And we met the second week in March. We have a conflict with the second week in March this year, and so we were looking, as we had a staff meeting this morning, the department heads were willing to look at March 6th. It will be an all-day session. We'll have some lunch brought in for everybody.
It's a
Is the
Thursday.
6th a Wednesday or?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay.
Does that work for everybody?
Works for me.
I didn't bring my trusty phone, so we're just gonna say, okay.
I am not available the 6th or 7th, I'm sorry.
The 6th or 7th, you're out?
Well, other tree,
What about March 4th?
I'm good the 4th.
We can't the 4th, that's court.
The 5th?
Well, the 5th, the mayor is speaking.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I knew that week.
That's
so
Ash
I remember for a
Wednesday.
reason. Yeah.
So with court, what is that?
Well, we have so many tickets, it takes several of us to do
Oh,
it.
I got you, okay.
So,
Would that only take you out, though?
yeah, it would just take me out. But I mean, I can't remember if that's a 3 o'clock.
Is that an
court.
afternoon? Yeah.
I think it's a 3 o'clock court, and I
Yeah.
have to clean up and everything, so. I mean, we can try to make it work if we need to.
How does the 4th work for everybody other than Brittany in the afternoon?
That's a Tuesday then.
I'm good.
Is that good for you, Jeff?
I can make it work, but, yeah.
Is that good for you, Jeff? Okay.
The only other day would be that Monday, the 3rd. If
Is
it's
one day
better for
than
anybody else.
another?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Why don't we plan on meeting at 8:30 then on the 4th?
On 4th, okay.
And we'll let Kyle know. And as you recall, this will be an opportunity for all the department heads to give you a sales pitch, and we start evaluating and discussing revenues and projections, where we're gonna go long-term.
It's gonna be at Interbank again?
Yeah, we'll have it at Interbank at that community room in the back.
If it's available, hopefully it is.
Yeah.
If not, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so we'll find another place. but
Yeah.
We'll set on March 4th. And as you remember, that was just an initial meeting. We had like 2 others after that. Our goal is to get the budget passed and put to bed that first meeting in June.
Okay. Moving on, the financial report, Ms. Needham?
At least I can report positive numbers this month. On the general fund, we had a $16,000 gain. We're still at a loss for the year of 102, but actually our budget has a loss because of some items that we paid from the previous year. We got the sales tax in today, and it wasn't awesome at all. It's been better. I won't know why the numbers are where they're at until later in the month when they produce those. Actually, last month's ones had some additional oil field business in them, and I don't know, some of it might have been from previous months.
Let me just say something about the sales tax. Anita and I were talking about that this afternoon, and I was anticipating Kyle to raise an issue, but we projected 2.9 million for 12 months. We're at 1.8 million. So we're really only off about 3%, which is $30,000. I'm not losing sleep over it because, as Anita will tell you, our use tax, we've exceeded, we're almost where we're at for the whole year last year. So we're getting more money in use tax than we are sales tax, but we're not that far off. We're $30,000 for 8 months. And so that may change, you know, for the last 4 months of this fiscal year, but I'm not losing sleep over it. It is a little troubling, because as you can see by the graph, you know, in 2018, which was the high, you're at almost 3.3 million. And this year we're projecting 2.9, but we've collected 1.8 million so far.
You're talking that you're $30,000 off on a monthly basis, not overall.
If I look at the 2.9 million total that we're projected to collect,
Right.
and we've collected 1.8 million so far,
Is that, so the 1.6, is that not right?
that's true for 6 months. We just got
7
another.
months, I got you, okay.
We just got another
Okay.
check.
The 203,
yeah,
or whatever it is,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, a little over that.
yeah. So it's nothing to worry about. I'm glad the use tax is way above where we should be. But we're not the only one. Anita and I were looking at the county. The county's tax collections are down worse than ours. So we're holding our own.
The only question I'd have is just to make sure though, Jim, as we move further into this, I mean, you're 8 months into this with this last,
Yeah.
we may need to adjust whatever we can adjust, you know, because we are down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have opportunities to do that within some of the budget that we set for this year. for
Yes,
sure.
yes. We won't close the year out in the red. I have never done that in my entire career, and we're not about to start this year, so. Go ahead, Anita, I'm sorry.
Okay, you're okay. Then we moved to Public Works, we have a $122,000 gain for the year and almost a $60,000, or gain for the month and almost a $60,000 gain for the year. Actually had, people are warming their homes with electricity, it's wonderful. And I got the utility bill today from OMPA and it's right where it ought to be, so. You know it's good when you have a negative fuel adjustment. That means we're coming in under the baseline, and that's what we've had the last several months.
It's a little surprising with the rate adjustment though, that we're about right on budget.
Yeah,
Well, but we budgeted for the rate adjustment, so hitting right on is where we want to be.
Because we didn't adjust it till, was it August?
no, we
I thought it was
didn't.
August. I know we approved it
We
earlier, but,
approved it, I
It went into
believe you
effect in the
approved
June
it
bill.
was
just,
it June?
yeah,
Okay, I couldn't remember.
yeah, and that was with the 30 days lead time, so we had it in the budget for the increase.
Okay.
Then we come to the cash page. Right now, we're at 9.8 million in unencumbered funds. You can see where we finished off the street building, street construction, and we've got almost 60,000 left in the account. So we'll start building that up for the next project. But that's, we look like we're below where we were last year, but we were sitting on all that street money last year. So if you have any questions?
So does, Nita, so that drilling fund money, it didn't ever go into the street and alley fund specific, did it?
We put it in there specifically so we knew, number one, it wouldn't mess up and make you look like the city general side had this great revenue. We wanted to keep it on task for its own budget. And also, that way when we built the roads, we had enough in there to cover the rest of the cost. So we let it sit in there. It drew great interest while it was there. And we were able to finish the entire project with our additional funds we had been building up in the street department. So yeah, it pretty much lived, as soon as we got it, it lived in the street fund,
Okay,
so that it was earmarked.
okay.
Just so you know, we put money in for Oklahoma Park and Briscoe Park, and that's about 750,000. We haven't spent any money there yet,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
My question is kind of for you, but it's off of this. You know, at one point, we had a problem with people not taking their sick leave. And
Yep,
has that,
that has, they have heard from me on several occasions. People are taking their leave and not letting it accumulate. That liability has, the stories I've shared with you, that has rectified itself.
all right.
Well, moving forward too, we passed something that requires folks to take that from moving forward where it doesn't accumulate, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then there's
It was
some,
working out budget-wise.
there were some that were grandfathered, like Anita and a couple other people, and they have a timeline to draw down what they had. Otherwise, they'll lose it as well.
News to Anita.
I'm just kidding. You're aware of that, Anita, aren't you?
Yes, as long as I retire before that timeline expires.
Yeah.
But, and actually, if, it's kind of like the scenario of they take a vacation, their PTO is not at risk for where it's at, it's not about to cap out, and they put PTO, but they're sitting there with a ton of comp time, it comes out of comp time. That is the rules that are written in the policy. So it kind of makes them have to use this comp time that they weren't supposed to be building up. And we have been doing that on payroll days.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, Anita.
Thank you for my grant.
Mr. Thomas, it's your time.
Mayor, I don't have anything to add. You got quite a lengthy report from me over the weekend. Next Monday is President's holiday. I'm gonna go see my wife. I haven't seen her in 3 weeks. I'm gonna go see my grandson, my wife, so I'll be out of town for a few days. But other than that, we're moving ahead with our new engineers. We're getting ready for a new fiscal year, new budget. If any of you, and I've said this before, if there's anything in my hot topics that has perked your interest, don't hesitate. The mayor talked to me before the meeting about a couple of items. So I try to at least let you know what I'm thinking, where I'm going, and if there's something coming up on the agenda, I try to fill in that gap. And so I hope it's been helpful to you. Several of you comment, when you get something and say, hey, thanks for the update. I have nothing else to add, Mr. Mayor.
Good, thank you. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Get that one.
Let him get his 50 cents. When we do our budget, we're going to have to up that to 75 cents.
They didn't even call to show up. I made
We
it
got to
on
offer him
record.
cookies too.
It's on record too, so he heard it.
Yep.
Oh boy, Jeff, look at that one.
What's that?
The next meeting, let him see.
We are adjourned, right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll reconvene as the Kingfisher Public Works Authority. Yeah, I'm not reading that.
Yeah, I was waiting to hear that.
The first item is item 2, the consent docket. Is there any questions, comments? Anything you want to pull out? Anything you want to discuss? If not, do we have a motion?
No. Motion to approve consent docket.
I second it.
Motion carries. Under scheduled business, the first item is item A, discussion possible action to approve the agreement for MFSOK for financial advisory services.
That was John Wolf. He just presented. He had to be in Guthrie. He's got to present at a school board meeting at 6:30, so.
Same thing on
That's
this.
same thing, yeah.
Mhm.
Municipal Finance Services of Oklahoma, so I'd recommend approval.
Have a motion?
I'll motion that we approve item A.
Second that.
Motion carries. Next item is item B, discussion possible action to approve the agreement with Public Finance Law Group LLC for the bond counsel services scope of work, same as on the regular city.
Yeah, and that's Alan Brooks. You guys have used him before.
Right.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve item B.
I'll second the motion.
Motion carries. Next item is item C. You can
That-
read for yourself.
Yeah, and that's all tied to
Yeah,
A
it's
and
back to the
B.
same thing, yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah.
approved it on the Ready City agenda.
Really throw a wrinkle in it if we didn't approve that. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve item C.
I second it.
What's your legal opinion of that, Jared, if we did that?
I was gonna tell you that there's a statutory provision that you've gotta read that one out.
Leave it at that.
You should have done it.
Okay, that motion carries. The next item is item D. The discussion and possible action to purchase 175 cellular hub meters at the cost of $42,156. I assume that this is, you wanna,
Mark, you want to come up?
This is
Sounds
already
like a good
budgeted.
deal.
It's already budgeted in another account. He's transferring some poll money to buy these hub meters because we've had such good success with the,
intermingling funds.
Budget amendment.
Well, it was better than a budget amendment, see, if I
Yeah.
just kind of,
yeah.
but that doesn't leave me short in my poll budget, because I still have ability to get polls. This is just.
And you've got some polls already on the lot,
Right.
And you're getting how many?
175.
Yeah, that sounds like a good deal.
What are we?
Mark, why don't you give them up to
That's a
date
lot.
on the system that's operating now?
Up to date is, we really have done well. We have, we've gotten readings now from Schaffenburg that we've never gotten. We have readings on Country Lane North, Cottonwood Acres, I think it's BB Road, right? Okay, I'm not from here, so. But anyway, the water nodes are following right along like we was hoping they would be. We have really good results here. And of course, we're still fighting with Eaton. So we're having to do a whole lot more electrical stuff as far as electric meters that are Eaton. We're still struggling to get, you know, Denise is having to do, when she does non-pays, we're having to do them by hand. I'm ready for a change.
And this is just, we're continually making investments in the new system. This is all money going into the new system.
And I hope that we can budget to finish it out this year. And that's part of my budget this year, for next year, is to maybe go ahead and just make one last payment and be done with it. Because the sooner we can get 9-hawk all of our meters set, then we can get away from having a meter reader that we're using right now.
How many total will you lack after this 175 are purchased?
But there was 350, right, wasn't it?
No, there's more than that. Although a lot more than that.
No.
We have a total of 2,600 accounts.
Yes.
Okay.
How many hub meters do you need?
Our hub meters were, do you have that?
No, I don't. I don't have it.
I wasn't prepared.
I
but-
wasn't prepared for it
Talking
either.
about count, you're talking about hub.
I'm talking
Right.
about hubs, yeah.
What
Yeah,
about hubs, yeah.
yeah, the original I think was 350, I think that's what I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And then this that we're doing tonight is just an add-on to that.
Yeah.
So you already have the 350, this is another 175?
Yeah.
So the total project would be what is the total project, do you know, off the top of your head?
The total amount for this project
No,
was,
the hubs.
No,
Actual
hubs.
And one hub carries 3
Right.
houses, 4 houses?
well, the hub meters is where our leaf meters, I'm gonna try not to do this, but we have hub meters and that's where the leaf meters go to, water
Right,
meters go
right.
to. So our hub meters are what's gonna report back. And unlike Eaton, Eaton has 3 gateways. And so if they can't get to a gateway, we don't have readings. So now that we're doing this, each meter that we're putting out right now is just like a gateway. We have 350. And then there'll be a carryover, some of these on the electric side, we're probably half of them to have new meters on the shelf as we continue to build new housing additions. I want to be able to,
So if we've got 2,600 accounts, I would estimate we probably need 800, 850 hub meters.
That's not what was proposed from Nighthawk though.
No, we would have to go back and see that
Yeah.
proposal because there was so many water nodes to so many hubs. So I would have to go back and look to see what
I'll
it's
get
gonna-
that question
what the
answered
full
and
cost
send
is.
it out on a hot topic.
Yeah,
memo.
we'll have to get that, because we do have
I'm
it.
sorry, I wasn't prepared
But
for
we
that.
have to go back and look for it.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. That's what
I
was
can't
wondering.
remember. It's a
Maybe
little-
that was for fiscal year 25?
Well,
and
there
maybe
was,
there's something
they,
for
they
26?
broke it down into 2 years, if you remember that, I
Okay.
think, is what they
Yes.
did. They broke it down into 2 years. This would be your first year and this would be your second year. So they
Well,
broke it down into.
No, we broke it down in 4 years.
Yeah, I was
Right,
gonna
4
say, the
years, that's
total
right.
capital
4 years,
investment was
yeah.
over $1 million.
Right.
Right,
And this first batch was 250,000.
Yeah, 249,000.
Okay, 240.
yeah,
Gotta save every penny.
because wasn't water that too? It was the same, they were both the same, I think.
Yeah, yeah, they're both about
I
550,000.
think they're both the same,
yeah.
so yeah.
So Mark came to me a couple weeks ago and he says, I'd like to buy some more hub meters to keep this thing moving. I've got some extra money in my poll account. If it was under 25,000, I could have just done it with the stroke of a pen
Right.
internally, but because it was over 25,000, I brought it to your attention. But I'll get that actual number. But it is over 4 years, and Mark and I and Jeremiah have talked about, we've had such good success over the last year. First, we did a beta test, then we invested 249,000. We're gonna look at the numbers and see if we can maybe make this all get done in 2026. Because right now, Denise is running 2 parallel systems, and it can be a challenge.
Well, and our gateways aren't working, so that's
No.
not helping us out either way. They're not reading.
No.
They're not, those meters are not reading at all.
Yeah. And it's costing us $60,000 just to have somebody go out and read the water meters.
Well, we're gonna have to continue to do that for a while, right?
Yeah, until we get the full system up and running under Nighthawk.
Out of curiosity, I mean, you said you're getting readings out at Beebe Road and Schaffenburg. Have you seen any specific issues that you have recovered? Some volume of water that we weren't charging before?
No, because those meters weren't reading and he's reading them, so no.
No?
Because he's already reading them.
Yeah.
This
I didn't
way,
know if there was
they're-
anything,
No, not as far as I know. With the automatic readings, she can see them now. She's never been able to see them. So
Yeah.
those automatic meters are reading now.
I mean, they got new meters.
Yeah.
It's just Eaton's gateway system is not collecting that data and sending it in.
Yeah,
We're having
yeah, I
to
get
send
it.
somebody out there.
Right.
And,
So-
and as we go into this, of course, you know, that was the big thing about Nighthawk was as we get into this a little further, then we're gonna be able to give our customers that portal they wanted to see as such Simrun does. And so, I know that the initial cost is, I hate that we had to do it because we just spent all that money on Eaton and here we are. But I think that we're gonna be better off because we take care of our customers better.
As far as reliability goes, so as you get that though, the person that you're sending out manually to read meters, are you starting to condense his area of reading those
No.
meters? So
No.
he's continuing to read everything?
Yeah.
Even though we're getting reliable information. Now, why would we do that?
Well,
Well, I don't know that,
he's set in his ways and trying to get a meter reader to go out and read. He says, I'll do this many accounts for this number of dollars. And Dave negotiated an agreement. Otherwise, they couldn't find anybody to do it. We were sending regular city employees doing it.
But if you got the reliability, can you just reduce those lines that you hand him?
You won't do that.
He won't know.
No.
His was a firm fixed price
Are we ready
and
to vote?
The
When's
yearly
that
contract.
contract through?
Yearly.
once we get the last meter in. I mean,
This doesn't make sense. But
well, I know it
We
doesn't.
agree.
And he's,
Well, maybe we discuss that when we do our budget.
okay.
yeah, we can do that, yeah. But
It's
trust
fine.
me, reading meters is not a top of the line job that people
Oh, I
are
get it.
breaking down the door to do.
It just doesn't make
And
sense.
this is a
So,
retired guy.
I get it. Again, it just doesn't make sense to continue to read those when you're getting reliable information. I don't care what you negotiated. I mean, if it's a yearly contract, I mean, do we have that actually written into the contract that we have, he's gonna
He was
run
hired
those?
before I was
It was
here.
hired before I was here, so I'd have to go dig.
Yeah, but I thought it was an annual contract.
No, it's
No.
been put in place.
So it's in perpetuity until it's not needed anymore?
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
We'd have to renegotiate the whole thing. and
He's not gotten a
it's-
pay raise since I've been here.
Well, and it's basically the way I understand it, we've been told that I'm either doing it all or I'm not doing any of it.
Right.
So we'd be without a meter reader until you find someone else to read the meters.
I
So
understand.
there,
So
there's
on-
your key, is finding someone else to get.
On
that
number
done.
D,
And then
are
you
we
could
ready to
probably
make a
get to where
motion?
you're trying to go.
We've
Mayor?
got questions going on, Don.
But this isn't about D.
It, it all plays into it,
Yes.
so,
Yeah, we need to add that to the retreat.
yeah, I'm curious about that.
So,
But you will get us information regarding
how many we
how
have?
many we've got and how many we need.
Yeah.
Would
for
you like to
total.
meet the meter reader?
I've met him.
Let's have breakfast with him, me and him.
Can't, he's-
I have too many breakfasts with you. Do we have a motion on item D? Dawn, you want to do the play?
Yes,
Yeah,
I would like to approve motion, or make a motion to approve D.
Whatever you say. Okay.
I'll second.
Oh, goodness.
or he's a good guy.
No question.
He is a good guy.
Did you have to give his name out?
Motion
He's gonna be
carries.
on the newspaper.
Item E, discussion possible action to approve Shermco's proposal to repair the GEAC generator engine number 4 extra rewire project at the cost of $26,474.
Yeah, I outlined this in my memo to you over the weekend. This is a generator that caught on fire about 3 years ago. It's been rewired, it's been put in place, balanced, but we can't connect it. And we have had a devil of a time trying to get somebody over here to do an excitation. The insurance company will pay this, but here again, it's about $26,000. And then I just got another invoice for another $5,000 to commission it, to make sure that once they flip all the switches and it all works and pumps out. But here again, the insurance company will cover all the costs for this, so I just asked for approval for this. Shermco, Mark will tell you, we have been from East Coast to West Coast, north, south. It has been difficult trying to find someone to get that generator up and running. It's a 70-year-old General Electric. I'm hoping it'll do what it was doing before it caught on fire. It'll generate 2 megawatts of power, and it will help us with our standby generation. Do you add anything to that, Mark?
no, I'm right behind you on it. I mean, we've just hunted forever, and then to find this company in Tulsa,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, really?
I've been on communication with them. They're gonna have a guy here within 2 weeks.
Yes.
They'll send 2 guys, and this is a not to exceed amount. Here again, they're planning on 40 hours.
Yeah,
5
40
days, yeah. When the guy from Tulsa came down, he looked around, he knew exactly what needed to be done, took some pictures. So I'm confident we're gonna get this thing up and running, probably in the next 30 or 45 days at the max. But it's been a journey. I've learned more about engineers and electrical.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve item E.
I second that.
And we are still gonna we're still gonna get you an economic analysis on that plant.
I briefed them on that in a memo, and Jeff and I talked before the meeting started about that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion
I
for
make-
adjournment.
I second that.
Okay.
We can get those done quick.
I'll jump at it.
I'm just trying to hurry up before we start talking about meter readers again.
Well, it'll come back.
Yeah.
And the camera's not on.
We're adjourned, so we'll reconvene as the Kingfisher Recreational Authority. First item is consent docket. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve consent docket. Unless somebody has any questions? Is anything?
No.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, sorry. It was pretty short.
Yep.
Yeah, not a lot there.
Motion carries. No scheduled business. Have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
I was like, why was you looking
I
at me?
couldn't believe.
I second it.
You didn't jump on that. No.
I was being polite.
You and Jeff both just went hush.
I was trying to let her make her $1.50 for the
Oh,
night.
good.
That's
All
right.
I'm gonna say that so many times, there's gonna be public comments.
Keep
They
that
get
on
paid
the paper.
$1.50 for what?
Get us in trouble.
We are convened. That's a wrap. Thank you all for coming.